Hi, this is John Fuller, personal injury attorney in Denver, Colorado with John R. Fuller PC. Today we're here to talk about the answers to another very important question, and that is regarding medical payments coverage and how it applies and what we do with it. When you're in an accident in Colorado, back in the old days, pre-1996, we were known as a no-fault state, and under the old no-fault laws, it didn't matter who was at fault for the accident. Each party would look to their own insurance for coverage, and instead of our own health insurance, we would look to our car insurance. And under our mandatory no-fault coverage, each party had up to $50,000 in medical expenses and $50,000 in rehab, and the rehab could be folded into the medical, so we practically had $100,000 in medical coverage, plus some other benefits as well. The main point is that we did not look to our personal health insurance for that coverage. We looked to our car insurance. In 1996, the voters approved a radical change to what can only really be described as a pure fault system, whereas now the only thing that matters is who's at fault for the accident. And now the party who's at fault is responsible for all of the damages that flow from the accident. So in addition to their traditional responsibility for property damage, now they're on the hook for all of the medical expenses. They're on the hook for your lost wages, for your pain and suffering, for any future expenses. They're literally on the hook for every single category of damage that the accident caused. The tricky part is in how do we get those medical expenses and bills paid for when the at-fault party's insurance company will rightfully wait until sometimes many months down the road before they finally settle those claims. And the answer for many people is Medpay. And so what exactly is Medpay? Medpay represents a baby step back from a pure fault insurance scheme to semi back towards a no-fault scheme, and that we now have a policy provision on our own insurance policies to where a minimum of $5,000 is made available for ambulances, emergency rooms, any other emergency care. And then if we don't use it for that purpose, we can use it for practically any other care that's needed. So that would include your chiropractors, your massage therapist, your physical therapist, even your PCP doctor can bill and get paid under your medical payments coverage. So it's very important that we understand Medpay and what its purpose is. So months down the road, when we're finally settling your claim with the at-fault insurance company, they are going to be held responsible for all of those bills. But many times my clients have the difficulty of figuring out how to pay for their medical care during the time between the date of the accident and the end of the case, when we're generally talking settlement with the insurance company. Certainly their private health insurance is one available source. However, most private health insurance companies charge copays and deductibles. Those are generally borne by the patient or the patient's family, and those are going to have to be paid up front and during those several months that may go by between the time of the accident and the settlement of the claim. So Medpay can be used for those copays and deductibles. Additionally, any expense that's paid for by Medpay also counts towards your out-of-pocket maximums from the year. So if you satisfy those copays, deductibles, and out-of-pocket maximums, you're set to receive the rest of your coverage according to your policy, and you're not going to be forced to come out of pocket again. So it's important coverage. The other two things that are critically important about Medpay are, number one, it's cheap. It's probably the cheapest coverage on your entire policy, so do not ever consider waiving Medpay just because it's going to save you some money. In the end, it will save you a ton of money if you ever have to actually use it. Number two, it cannot be used against you for using it. Because it's a mandatory coverage in the state of Colorado, they can't penalize you for having a claim open up to use those same provisions that the law says you have to have. And so that's an important distinction that many of my clients are hesitant to use their own policy. The third thing that's incredibly important is that you don't have to pay it back. And so it's not a loan. It doesn't come to you with strings attached to where you have to pay that back out of the settlement down the road. Those benefits get paid out. They close that claim. It never comes back to haunt you down the road. And most importantly, the at-fault party does not get an offset for what Medpay may have already paid. Now, some people initially think, well, that's crazy. How would we not deduct that from the amount of the damages? The reason is because it's a coverage that you paid for, we don't let the defendant take advantage of what you had already paid for in coverage. So that makes perfect sense. Medpay is an incredibly important feature. I encourage you to never waive Medpay. I encourage you to consider raising your Medpay to at least twice the state minimums, or $10,000. The reason behind that is that most people's copays and deductibles are at least $6,000, and so you'll have that for coverage. If you have any further questions about Medpay, feel free to reach out to my office. Our phone number is 303-597-4500. We are happy to answer any questions you have about Medpay or any other accident-related issues. You can also reach out to our webpage for more information at www.personalinjuryco.com. Thank you.